things from your quiz review, the stuff that I think will trip you up the most, or that I want to remind you of the most, okay? And then you can take your quiz. Remember, you can have your notes out on the quiz, okay? Numbers 1, 2, and 3 all have to deal with just GCF, but I do want to talk about the difference between the wording on number 1 versus the wording on 2 and 3. On number 1, it just says find the GCF, okay? So you're going to do like where we expand it, if you still need to expand it, okay? Expand it, find what they have in common, and then that will be your answer. So you'll just have the GCF as your answer for number 1. But for 2 and 3, when it says factor using the GCF, remember the word factor means to break something down into this times this times this times this. And so the form of your answers for 2 and 3, you're going to find the GCF, but then you're going to do that thing where you put the leftovers in parentheses. Okay, so this is one factor, and that's the other factor. So that's factored form, stuff in parentheses. Same thing for 3, we'll have a problem like 3 would have that form as well, but there's 3 terms instead of 2 terms like number 2. So that's the difference in the wording. You put a 1. So if everything cancels out, that really means there's 1 left. So then 4, 5, 6, and 7, we're all factoring by grouping. This is the most basic form of factor by grouping, right? Because they have the m minus 2 in common, and then their leftovers here are 2m, and the leftovers here are minus 7. So on numbers like 4 and 6, what you're trying to do is get it in this form first, so that you could do that form for your final answer. So I don't know if I really want to work one of those. I'll work number 4. You would group first, and group those 2 things together. Then GCF, the first group, they have 5C in common, leftover C plus 3. Now, I just did that in my head. If you feel like it's still hard for you to do that in your head, then you just expand it out, right? 5C squared is 5 times C times C. 15 is 3 times 5 times C. You find what they have in common, and then it's visually easy to see what they have left over when you do that too. And then minus C plus 3. C plus 3, that had no greatest common factor. So then now, as an entire group, they have C plus 3 in common. So when I divide C plus 3 out of here, I have 5C left over. But what do I have left over when I divide C plus 3 out of here? What's left? Nothing. What do we put there, though? 1, right? It doesn't mean it's a 0. It means it's a 1. Because it's C plus 3 divided by C plus 3, which leaves me 1. Same thing for 6 and 7. Number 8, this is what I really wanted to talk to you about, because this lesson was from Tuesday, and so you had just a video lesson. Welcome. Oh, wait. Yeah, because of this minus. Oh, wait. No. Yeah, let me go back and fix that. I should have made this. Hold on, am I just confusing myself right now? So it should be 5C squared plus 5C minus 3. Yes, because in that, well, where would the minus come from? No, I think it should be. Oh, right here, this is a plus? This is a plus. This is a plus. Okay, thank you. When I grouped it, then I thought it was a negative. This is a plus in the original problem. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. So then on number 8, what we're trying to do, it says factor using the AC method. What we're doing is this has 3 terms. We're trying to get it into 4 terms so we can do grouping, because we're good at grouping now. We're like awesome at it. The way we do that is, if you watched the video the other day, it's kind of like reverse FOIL. So when you're doing first, outside, inside, last, or double distributed, whatever you want to call it, you get 4 things, and 2 of those things combine. So what we're going to do is do that backwards. We're going to take this middle term and break it up into those 2 things. And the way we find out those numbers is like this. Right, we what multiplies to AC and adds to B. And that comes from this general standard form. AX squared plus BX plus C. 30. That's right. Because A is 3, C is 10. So what multiplies to 30 and adds to the B term, which is 17. And if you haven't watched the video for this lesson, I highly recommend you do that. Because when I'm just like telling you here, it's like, that's completely random. But in the video, I show you why that works. And it might help it be easier to sink in. And so I'm going to say, okay, 15 and 2 multiply to 30 and add to 17. So I'm going to rewrite 17x as 15x and 2x. Okay, that's what I'm using those two numbers for. And then the other two things stay the same. I have a plus 10 and I have a 3x squared. And now I do grouping. Perfect. So group this, group this. That first group has 3x in common and x plus 5 left over. The second group has 2 in common and x plus 5 left over. And that whole thing has x plus 5 in common. And 3x plus 2 left over. You can use your notes and stuff. I feel like that's still there. I'll look down. Use any notes that you have. Any notes that you have, you can use. The only other one I want to go over is number 10. So 9 works like 8. 10 is a combination of that method and GCF. So the first thing you want to do on 10 is take out the GCF. That's always generally the first thing you want to check for anyway. If you look at the coefficients, the 5, the 15, and the 20, they have a 5 in common. And when you look at the x's, they have 1 x in common. And then the leftovers are x squared minus 3x minus 4. But what you're going to do next is you're just going to hold the 5x there. Don't do anything with it till the end. Just leave it alone. What you're going to look at now is just this yellow stuff. And we're going to do the AC method on that yellow stuff. So I'm going to say, okay, AC is A is 1, C is negative 4. I'm going to multiply those. What multiplies to negative 4 and adds to B? B is negative 3. What do you think? Negative 4, positive 1. They multiply to that, they add to this. So I'm going to take that negative 4 and that 1 and rewrite this as negative 4x plus 1x. We still add up to negative 3x, I'm just rewriting it. It's called splitting the middle term. And we bring down that minus 4 and that x squared. And then now it's just factor by grouping. This first group is an x times x minus 4. The second group doesn't have anything in common. But now when I look at both groups, they have an x minus 4. When I divide that out of here, I'm left with x. When I divide it out of here, what am I left with? Anything divided by itself is 1. But this answer is missing something. What else do I need to put there? The 5x from the very beginning. And this is factored form. Because I factored an x out as a GCF. Okay. All right. Any other last minute questions? You can have this out. You can have your key from yesterday out, whatever you need for the quiz. All right.